Well, hello there. How are you going today? Campbell here from Autodidactic. Thank you for joining me. And it's time for another romp through the strange realm we find ourselves in. And of course, don't believe anything you hear in the videos. Don't believe me. The whole idea is to get information, to get more points of view and come up with your own conclusions. And of course, make sure you give me a like, leave your comments, and subscribe. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, I know why they keep updating these versions. Let me show you something. Driver. One employed in conducting or operating a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle with horse, mules, or other animals, or a bicycle or motor car, though not a street railroad car. A person actually doing driving, whether employed by owner to drive or driving his own vehicle. One more time for those in the back. One employed in conducting or operating a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle with horse, mules, or other animals, or a bicycle, tricycle, or motor car, though not a street railroad car. A person actually doing driving, whether employed by owner to drive or driving his own vehicle. Now, considering the fact that when you're supposedly driving, you go to see an administrator about your conduct on the road, which only deals with deceased persons through their estates, we can only assume that the deceased person, which is a dead person, right? You know, and you go into court and they say you're the decedent. That's somebody who has died lately. So that means you can't possibly be dealing with a natural person. That must be an artificial person, right? Because you're dealing with estates.
Are you dead? This is what they want us to believe, or this is what they believe, right? And this is how they treat us. This is what a person is. It's a dead entity. You know, a citizen is an employee of a corporation, that they're all dead. They're not living people. And of course, a driver is someone employed to drive. Otherwise, you're just traveling, right? And you actually, by the law, by their own legal system, you don't need a license. Of course, they won't tell you this and they'll still fine you and coerce you. And if you don't pay it, they'll get into court with you. And if you don't know how to proceed properly as a living man or woman, well, they'll get you to contract with them and then they will fine you. So this is what it's all about. You know, you need to declare yourself as a living man or woman. And, you know, there is a lot behind this, but affidavits, right? The affidavit of live birth, an affidavit that you're a living man or woman, you know, some things to look into, but basically we have to declare to them that we are living and no longer lost at sea, or else they're just going to treat us as dead. And, you know, it sucks. The whole system sucks. But, you know, to get around it, unfortunately, we do need to learn this stuff. And, you know, it is good because it teaches you about yourself and about sovereignty and that you are powerful and that no one does have the right to tell you what to do because it's all coercion. It's all coercion with threat of, you know, stealing from you or incarceration. And it's all double talk when you get into court, right? It's a different language. It's legalese. So it's annoying, but it's definitely empowering as well to learn who you really are. But let me know, have you ever been through any of this? Do you have a license? Have you been to court? Have you won? How did you go and how did you do that?
Day 3 overview of everything I found in the Epstein files. Content warning. The harvesting of Mormon blood as some sort of weekly payment system for select breeders, creation of transhuman sex slaves by biologically turning men into women and women into men through hormonal and biological intervention, using different formulas across the gender spectrum in order to cater to different tastes and sexual appetites. The apparent war between Jews and non-Jews that apparently the Jews are currently winning, the identity of codename Mr. Evil, who is allegedly Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Israel, Epstein meeting with Netanyahu, details about the debaucherous sex parties, including individuals having their backs and legs cut open and then performing sex, while others eat intestines, and cannibalize children. At these events, the names dropped were George Soros, H.W. Bush, and Henry Kissinger. The dressing up of young children into different Disney characters and then being sold to specific clients. William Barr, ex-attorney U.S. General, apparently frequenting these sex parties where Epstein would abduct and then sexually abuse victims. Disclosure that quantum computing technology is 3 billion times better than their Illuminati magic, in a very heated email exchange between two individuals. An odd email chain where Mary Kennedy was found dead in her backyard, where Epstein replied, "Whoops." A person named Pizza Monster, with frequent references to how much he loved the taste of pizza and just craved pizza. This figure is currently unidentified. Trafficking of young homeless people, turning them into extreme sexual deviants through consistent ritualistic and sexual abuse, and later pawning them off, putting them into certain positions of influence, power, or work is heavily implied. Jeffrey Epstein's connection to the Rothschilds being paid to the tune of $25 million. And last but not least, Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, apparently turning on Mossad, demanding hundreds of millions of dollars because he has so much control over the United States, naming himself Israel's unofficial ambassador to the Soviet bloc. And then, as a surprise to nobody, he was found dead. Honorable mentions are possible time travel, transhumanism experiments, and the bloodline of the literal Illuminati being listed out. But all three of those need to be deeper looked into because they have almost no evidence surrounding them that I have found yet. My next video, I'm going to be cross-referencing a lot of the stuff that I'm finding with other sources to try to pin down which of this stuff is more true, and follow to keep up as I continue to dig through these files.
Well, I normally don't cover, the more the dark, deep rabbit holes that are put out there, and the stuff that, if we focus on is really not going to help us. But, this is everywhere at the moment, right? Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. Everyone's like, oh my God, there's a billion videos being released in the last week. It's crazy, and it's pretty harsh stuff. It's crazy, right? And a lot of this, we know there's so much evidence that this kind of stuff is going on. But I do have questions. Mainly this was said to be released by the DOJ, the Department of Justice in the US, a government department, and in it incriminates half of the government, right? Ex-presidents, current presidents, all of this stuff, high-ranking officials, they're all through it. So, why would that happen? Why would that be able to be done when we know that they control, they own the companies on the internet. They own, Google, YouTube, TikTok, all of these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, all owned by the same kind of people. So why would it be released? Is it some kind of distraction, do you think? And I'm not saying it's not real, or at least parts of it, but it is worth thinking about, I think.
I'm wondering, do y'all think the Epstein files is just a distraction? A distraction from what? I don't know, maybe the fact that none of us can afford a house? Maybe the fact that we're all getting laid off? Could be the fact that the dollar just ain't worth a damn anymore. Or could it be that the United States is more than $38 trillion in debt? Broker than broke. I don't know, but whatever they're distracting us from, it ain't good for us.
Don't take the bait. The Epstein drop this weekend is a classic narcissist abuser move. This is their version of love bombing. They are giving us just the bare minimum of what we need to hold on and to try to distract us and get us to go down our wormholes, investigating every little piece. And then a lot of those allegations and those files are going to turn out to be false. I'm a very strong advocate of believing the survivors, but they are purposely curating files that are dead ends and putting those out there saying that this is the last drop, this is absolute transparency, when in fact we know this is only 50%. They're still holding on to the most incriminating files and calling them sealed and just buying time. That's what a narcissist is going to do. Just feed us the littlest little bit in order to keep us satiated and buy time. They need 3 years for Trump to get out of the presidency. He's going to bail out to Qatar or somewhere in the Middle East. That's why all of his money is in Bitcoin and foreign accounts. Like, it's not even clever. that's the really frustrating part. Is it's not crafty, it's not creative, it's not clever. This isn't Ocean's 11. It's not some mastermind operation. It is such amateur shit. And that's why I'm on here saying don't take the bait. There's going to be a lot of good stuff that is incriminating in that Epstein drop, but the real shit they're still holding on to, because if I was a narcissist, that's exactly what I would do. And please don't forget that AG Pam Bondi was the attorney general in Florida during the Epstein Palm Beach sweetheart deal. She has made a career off of delaying and covering this up. And so this is just clockwork for them at this point. From now until forever, we're still saying release the files and putting that pressure on.
Well, what do you think? Is it a distraction? You know, like I said before, I'm not saying that none of this stuff is going on. It clearly is, right, to some level. But the second guy there, it's interesting, right? Like, are they just releasing rabbit holes for us to go down? Right? Are they releasing all this stuff that is actually based on nothing? Right? It's sensational enough for people to be extremely upset, right? And to spend a lot of time on it and a lot of focus. And, you know, there's, you know, a few points to this. One is, you know, are these rabbit holes that go nowhere that are just going to take up time, and it's actually got nothing to do with anything that will actually end up incriminating people? Two is, will anyone get incriminated? They're all part of the government. They're all high ups, right? Is this going to lead to anything? You know, that's the other thing, right? Does anyone really think that they're going to start jailing ex-presidents, current presidents, you know, world leaders, banks, you know, leaders, all this kind of stuff? And third is, when we're focusing on all this stuff, we're not focusing on ourselves, on our lives. We're not happy. It can lead people to depression, low frequencies, right? All of this kind of stuff, and it keeps you locked on the screen as well, right? Doom scrolling. So none of that is good. And then, you know, like the first video said, like, what are they hiding? What are they distracting us from? What's going on in the background? Of course, we know there's massive economic problems going on. But the thing is, you know, we are the economy as well. If we just keep following their narrative, then their narrative works. If we keep focusing on it, then we create what they want to happen. You know, so this is all a distraction. And then we've got the whole digital ID thing in the background, right? And they're passing all these laws, you know, quietly, while everyone's focused on all this sensational Epstein stuff. And then there's AI videos left, right, and center about Epstein, which is, you know, it's just, it's AI, right? It's got nothing to do with reality, a lot of it. So, you know, what are your thoughts? You know, like, do you think, you know, do you think that all of these new drops are real, or do you think that, you know, some of them, or maybe all of them, are just to eat up our time and to get us to go down dead ends, right? Because they're giving us stuff that isn't true, but they make it close enough to what they're doing so that we think it's real, and we you know, go and investigate it. And they're clearly hiding something in the background. It's the old magician's trick. It's what they do all the time, right? Look over here, and we'll do this behind our back, and you won't see it. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think is going on with all these Epstein, you know, file drops, and why would the government release it when it incriminates half of the government? Like, something's not gelling here. Something is not making sense. But let me know what you think.
What if I told you that all corporations are actually just one giant mega corporation? And I'm not talking about metaphorically. And I'm not talking about BlackRock. I'm talking about what's really behind BlackRock. See, we hit 1 million followers on TikTok this week, and I've been waiting to post this video since the very first video that I made, laying the groundwork of understanding so that we're all going to understand this now that we're here. So let's break it down real simple. If you're going to go grocery shopping at a corporate grocery store, all of these corporations are owned by these institutions. They're highlighted in red if they're on all 4 of these sheets. They're darker orange if they're on 3 of them, and light orange if they're on 2. And there's only a couple that only appear once. It's mostly the same money. But we go deeper. If you go for the biggest tech companies, it's basically the exact same list for all four of these. That would be Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Geode, which is similar to Fidelity Associated, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. And then Northern Trust is on three of them, and Capital World Investors is the exact same thing as Capital Research and Management Company. So you might think, okay, these are the institutions that own the whole stock market. But who owns them? And see, if you've been around here for a minute, you already know. They all own each other. Just a giant cross-ownership pool. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because see, way back before I'd even posted a single video, I was sitting in my office reading this report from an anonymous user on Reddit. And he had noticed the exact same thing that I'm talking about right now. And he wrote a program to put all that data into a visualization so we can see who owns who. And I'm about to show you what he figured out. Let's take BlackRock, for example. This is a list of the top institutional owners of BlackRock and how much of the company they own. And if you visualize it, it looks like this, where the whole square is all of BlackRock's stock, and they get a percentage of that square based on how much they own. And the important colors to note are that white symbolizes us, retail investors, and gray symbolizes insiders that work at the company. So that would be like Larry Fink's stock, among other people. And everything else is other giant corporations, investment banks. Like BlackRock themselves own a little bit. State Street owns some. Capital World Management owns some. Bank of America owns some. You see how this works? But then you think about it and you're like, well, wait a minute. Because all of these institutions are owned by other institutions, right? So what if we put that data in here? Well, he did. And it looks like this. And you realize that all of this that was owned by Merrill Lynch is actually owned by all of these other institutions. And a little bit of us, retail, up there at the top. But here, we've only replaced Merrill Lynch's section. What about all of these guys? Well, then it looks like this. Remember, white is retail investors like you and me, and everything else is giant mega corporations. And if you go one layer deeper, filling in all those corporations with their corporations, you see how this program's working? And so then we simplify it to just black, gray, and white. And this is who owns BlackRock. White is retail investors like you and me. Gray is insiders at all of these corporations like CEOs and other executives. And black is just corporations owning each other. We'll call it Megacorp. This is the same process done for Bank of America and for State Street and for Best Buy, Amazon, Macy's, groceries, food, ingredients, building and selling homes, even less white, meaning us, retail ownership. As far as I can tell, there's only one company on the entire stock market that is not owned by Megacorp. Can you guess who it is? Do you know? It's GameStop. Except that this photo's out of date, because it's from a few years ago. It probably looks more like this, if you believe the public info, which is a big if. But more on that another time. This is not a video about GameStop. This is about Megacorp. Because see, when all of the owners own each other, all of their interests are aligned. BlackRock wants State Street to do well because State Street wants BlackRock to do well because they both own each other. So who is the real final boss behind all the money? Well, isn't that the million-dollar question? And ever since I've been asking those more important questions, my follower growth went from this to this. So you're not going to find those answers on this channel. You're going to have to go follow me in other places. All I'll say for now is that the next time you buy a product from a corporation like Nike or Costco or Best Buy or Amazon or any of these corporations, you're buying it from the mega corporation. They're all owned by the same big money. And it's all one big siphon, just vacuuming money out of our pockets up to the people on top. We'll make another video about how exactly they do that shortly. For now,
Megacorp. Yeah, this is what they do, and this is how they act, right? Like in their private lives, if you want to call it that. They're all in the same game, right? They all do the same things. They only associate with each other. This was the same with, the kings and queens and royalty and that same thing, down to they would only even breed with each other, right? It's all this interconnected web, right? Like the World Wide Web, maybe. But it's true. And basically what it means is, yeah, like you said, anytime you buy from these big corporations, you're funding them, and the money's going straight out of the hands of the people and up to the top tiered elites, right? Which is probably, a big reason why the cost of living is skyrocketing, because we're losing the wealth of the people. but it's also how they can do things like fake food and get it in all the shops, right? They can do these things and get it everywhere instantly because it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing, right? So, what do we do about it? Well, shop locally, use cash, and shop at, privately owned businesses, mum and dad businesses, as they call them, right? Go to markets and, try and stay offline. Like the online shopping, market has skyrocketed since COVID, right? It's out of control, and people are doing it because it's easy, but it's just funding the beast, right? It's just helping them. And then people complain, well, why do they have so much power? Why do they have so much money? It's because they've trained us to make them wealthy and make ourselves poorer, right? Unwealthy. Like, so we have no resources and they have them all, and we keep giving them more and more of what we've got, and it funnels up. It never comes back down again, right? So this is the thing. It all comes down to personal choice and personal actions, what we actually do. You can't sit around complaining that this is happening while you're actually funding it, right? So, let me know your thoughts on this. It's crazy, right? But this is where we are. And this is why there is such a massive ruling class. This is why we have trillionaires now, right? Like, I mean, billionaires only came into the vernacular, what, maybe 20 years ago, and now it's trillionaires. It was millionaires for hundreds of years, with the wealthy, wealthy, wealthy ones. So the money is just being funneled up, and it gives them control, right? And then they own the governments, which are corporations, and they can put in all their new laws, which then funnel our tax money out to build their AI mega data centers, right? It's a good scam. They know what they're doing, but it only works if we are a part of it and we aid it. So, my advice: use cash and shop at markets and privately owned businesses that aren't part of corporations, dead entities.
So you thought AI was just about a smarter search engine and deep fake videos? Think again. This goes way deeper, back to Genesis, into prophecy, and all the way to Revelation. Now I want to show you how AI could potentially be repeating the sin of the Tower of Babel and what that means for us in the end times. Now I already have one part on AI in general, so I figured I'd make a little bit more in-depth video here. So Genesis 11:4 says, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves." So what was the sin here? It wasn't just building a tower. It was humanity uniting to bypass God. They wanted to ascend, right? To become like gods. Does that sound familiar? So today, AI researchers, they talk about creating this artificial general intelligence, AGI, that can surpass human intelligence. People like Ray Kurzweil talk about the singularity, a point where a man and a machine merge. It's not science fiction. It's modern Babel. We're building a tower again, but this time it's digital, a collective mind. And just like in Genesis 11, it's all about becoming gods, right? Without God. Revelation 13:14 through 15 talks about the image of the beast, right? We've all heard it. A thing that can speak and cause those who don't worship it to be killed. With AI, we now have lifelike robots with artificial voices, facial expressions, and even decision-making capabilities. They're building sentient machines that mimic consciousness. This isn't some distant future. This is the now, the here and now. AI is already being used to control commerce, military drones, and financial systems. Now, imagine a future where worship is tied to technology, where you have to pledge allegiance to a global system run by a synthetic intelligence. That's just not plausible. It's prophetic. Jesus said in Matthew 24:37, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Now, what happened in Noah's day, right? Genesis 6, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. So this led to the birth of Nephilim, as I talked about in my other video. Hybrid beings, right? Part divine, part human. God wiped the slate clean, though, because the genetic code of humanity was being corrupted. When people say, oh, why did he wipe out the world? This is why. Now, fast forward to today. Scientists are using AI, CRISPR, and synthetic biology to modify DNA. They're talking openly about chimeras, neutral lace, human enhancement, and even brain-computer interfaces. It's the return of the Nephilim, but this time through technology. We're not just making AI smarter, we're inviting something ancient into our world again, something that God once judged harshly. Now the Nephilim, they're still here according to the word, but could this help enhance that? Absolutely. So let me ask you something. What spirit is behind AI? Proverbs 9:10 says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So if AI doesn't fear God, it can never be truly wise. In fact, Revelation talks about spirits of demons performing signs. Revelation 16:14. So we can't be naive here, people. Spiritual entities can influence technology. Ephesians 6:12 says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. Now imagine a super intelligence built by fallen man with no moral compass being used to control the masses. That is not progress. That's spiritual warfare. And we're just handing the reins over. But here's hope, all right? There's hope here. Psalm 2 says that the kings of the earth, right, rage and plot against the Lord, and he laughs. God's sovereignty is the ultimate firewall. Yes, AI is advancing. Yes, the Antichrist system is forming. But God is not surprised. In Daniel 2:43, it says, they will mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they will not adhere one to another. That's transhumanism. It's not gonna work because only the Creator understands the blueprint of the soul. Why? Because he is the creator. Man can try to recreate life, but only Jesus gives eternal life, and that is a fact. So here's what you need to do. Hold on to this. Don't put your trust in the system. Number one, Psalm 27 says, some trust in chariots, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. Number two, get grounded in the word. Spiritual deception is rising. It's rising fast, and AI could be the false prophet's mouthpiece. Who knows? I don't know for certain, but it's all leading that way.
Yeah, I played that because I thought it was interesting, you know, the whole link to the Tower of Babel, confounding our language. And here we have AI, which is basically mimicking us, right? And people are confused, right? They're babbling, that they're relying on AI, and they no longer can talk. They're using it to write books, right? To write songs, to make music, all of this stuff. It's confounding language. So I thought that was a very interesting link. As far as the Lord, well, you can read the Old Testament for yourself and see what the Lord does. You know, he loves people to sacrifice their children. He loves to smite people and destroy cities, including all the inhabitants, including women, children, and animals. That's the Lord. So I definitely do not agree with any of the biblical stuff he's saying. And, you know, the only way is through Jesus. Fact, Jesus never really said that. Jesus said things like, these things I do and others so you shall do as well, right? He said that God lives inside of you, you know, completely different to the rhetoric that they teach. And this is the problem. He was quoting, you know, verses left, right, and center, but I don't think he understood the message. But yeah, as far as AI being a false prophet, being created by fallen ones, whether they are, you know, people that have just got no ethics and that they've fallen that way, fallen out of their heart, or if it's actually some other entity. You know, I've done shows on it. You know, are these demonic entities that are ruling us, the allies. So they're trying to bring in their Lord, right? The God, their God, and where from? With all this AI and quantum computing and CERN and all this kind of stuff, it's definitely something we need to consider. But yeah, what do you think? Is AI the new Tower of Babel? Are they trying to become more powerful than the creator? Because when I started this research on YouTube years ago, that was one of my first sort of things that I concluded is that these people who wish to rule us, they want to be gods on earth, gods of the physical. That's why everything they do makes us focus on the physical and not within. And that AI is definitely confounding people's language, right? It's mixing them up. It's making people babble because they're not thinking for themselves anymore. But let me know your thoughts.
This one is almost too painful to be funny.
Oh God, another thing that was crazy about Generation X, I don't even know if you can talk about this anymore, but we did this thing, it is so weird, okay. It was called critical thinking, and it's so crazy. So basically, what you would do, this is like in the old days, you would listen to both sides of a story or a topic or an issue, and then you would make your own, this is crazy, you'd make your own opinion that would then guide you through life.
Ah, yes, the death of critical thinking, AI, the education system, the online 2D world. It's definitely done that. And most of the people you see out there now, they just get triggered or they don't even know what's going on. But of course, that's what we do here, right, at Autodidactic. We become self-educated by getting both sides of the argument. But in my opinion, there's more than two sides, right? You need at least three different points of view before you can make a real decision. And the more the better. And collect the information. Don't judge it as good or bad. Just collect it, and you'll get more reference points in your mind. And as you go along, the picture will start to become clear for you, whether you think it's more correct or less correct, basically, right? And you come up with your own opinion, your own point of view. And that's definitely the way forward, right? We've talked about the Epstein files coming out and all that kind of stuff. Is it true? Is it fake? Is it a distraction? AI, is it up there? Is it trying to take over the world and it destroying our language again? The babble on, man, all that kind of stuff. So I just thought this was a good, happy little video to end on. But there you go, guys. Thank you for spending some time with me. Hope you enjoyed this one. Please do give me a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely leave me your comments. Let me know what you think about all this and share it around, hype it up, all that kind of good stuff. And most importantly, stay awesome and stay free thinking, critically thinking, and form your own opinions. And I will talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Let go. Winnie! Let go. Winnie! Get. Oh my God. Winnie!
Don't say anything. Yeah, cool.